Hello everyone, it's me again, it's Gene with another video in this new video format. And again, it's actually a pretty gloomy day outside, which is why I decided to just take this and make a video. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of sunlight coming through the window, so it's probably going to be a little bit darker than it would be. I almost wish I had made a video yesterday because it's very beautiful and bright out yesterday here in the city. Unfortunately, I had to be a responsible adult yesterday and do things like laundry and shopping and all this other annoying adult stuff, which is why I'm taking the time out today to be a lazy bum. But anyhow, I'm making this video just to briefly express my thoughts on a Facebook post that Tony Isabella, who works on the DC comic for Black Lightning, I believe, is made about Batman. Now, the post itself is not terribly inflammatory or anything of that sort. It's just him saying, don't add me to any Facebook groups about Batman because I was a Batman fan at one time, but now I view the character as toxic. Although he doesn't say why the character of Batman is toxic now, and that he feels that it's a detriment to other characters in the DC universe that Batman is so popular. So I just want to just very briefly respond to this. First of all, as I said, Tony Isabella does not provide any actual criticism of the character or how he's been portrayed recently, most infamously under Tom King. For those who are not familiar with Tom King's take on Batman, to briefly summarize, excuse me, Tom King has been writing Batman for at least, over a year now, I think it is, something like that. But his take on Batman has been derided by many fans of the character as being very low energy, being very mopey and depressed. He's basically become Eeyore, right? Now, the story, more or less, is that, and again, this goes back a few years, but just to be brief about it, Batman and Catwoman, they've always had a relationship, this push, pull, tug type of relationship between them, given that she's a criminal, he's a crime fighter, and all that stuff. But they get together and they finally agree to get married, right? I think the marriage thing was supposed to be more symbolic than anything else because legally speaking, Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle, I don't think they can get married, or rather they shouldn't, because she has a criminal record and all this other stuff, and technically they're superhero or super anti-hero or super villain, I guess in the case of Catwoman. Those personas cannot legally get married because legally they don't exist, right? They are secret identities. Legally speaking, they are not real people. So the marriage was going to, the ceremony, I should say. The ceremony was largely symbolic anyway, but still, as was promoted last summer, the Bat and the Cat were finally going to get married, and they have been building up to this for like 50-some issues, so well over, 2 years, I guess you could say, more or less, by that point. But wouldn't you know it, that Catwoman leaves Batman at the altar. She leaves him on the rooftop. And now he's been in this descent ever since. In fact, for those who don't follow comics, right, this actually was a big thing last summer. And it got a lot of comic readers very upset because not only did those comic readers who were following the Batman story feel cheated, this also happened in the same month. I think it was only 1 or 2 weeks apart, after the wedding swerve in X-Men. Now, for those, again, who are not familiar with that, there have been a storyline where Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat, and Pietro Rasputin, also known as Colossus, were finally going to get married, right? They've been together since she was a teenager. They've had their ups and downs. They've broken up and gotten together God knows how many times. And they were going to get married. In fact, there was an issue I think in 2017 or 2016. I forget exactly what year, because I was like casually following it, so I wasn't like super up and detailed about it. But she had proposed to him, right? They were gonna get married. Then the actual wedding issue comes out. I remember seeing a lot of reviews from the comics reviewers like Mim Headroom and then still Diversity in Comics and whatnot. So I remember these issues and this event being a huge deal last summer. And Kitty and Peter are supposed to get married, and then Kitty pulls a runaway bride at the wedding, literally as they are about to take their vows. She's always had cold feet, but she says that she can't go through with it, and she leaves Peter at the aisle. People were pissed, and rightfully so. And on top of this was the part actually that got me the angriest, because I remember being incensed myself reading that. But the part that got me the angriest was that Gambit and Rogue quite literally use the remains of the wedding setup to get married themselves. They decide, well, if the bride and groom, who literally just broke up right in front of us and whose relationship is positively healthy and stable compared to the relationship that Gambit and Rogue have had over the years, if they just broke up, hey, let's use the day is still young. Let's get married ourselves, totally randomly. I remember reading that like, really? I know that they're both kind of like, river rat, bayou, southern stereotypes, but really? You're going to have them do something that, I don't know, that just that disrespectful to two of their best friends? I mean, come on now. That was just dumb. But the reason why I did that little recap is just give you an understanding of what was happening. So back to Batman, right? So Catwoman leaves him, and I think he like almost kills Mr. Freeze or something, and then it goes on into all this other stuff. And basically, ever since then, the character of Batman, as written by Tom King, has just been, again, very low energy, very mopey and depressed, which some might say, well, that makes sense, right? Batman is mourning the loss of his relationship with Catwoman and whatnot. And here's the thing, it isn't necessarily that it's because Bruce is heartbroken and upset. It's because this is not how Bruce Wayne handles things, right? This is not the way Bruce reacts. He isn't the get mopey type. Plus, this would not be the first time that Catwoman has left him or betrayed him. People who are very up on the Batman mythos can no doubt list, right, hundreds of times, right? You could probably play Love Her Madly by The Doors and just literally list all the time she has walked out of Batman's life, walked out the door a hundred times before. So it's like this just isn't Batman. I actually read 3 issues of Tom King's run on Batman. I think it was like issue 69, 70, and 71 or 72. One of those. It was like late 60s going to the early 70s on Tom King's run, because I was thinking of maybe doing a review on it. In the end, I elected not to, because no joke, I literally could not understand what in the world was going on. I could not understand what the story was. Even with a story recap, I could not understand what in the world the story was supposed to be. I couldn't understand the events. I couldn't understand why things were happening the way that they were. I couldn't figure out the greater plot or theme. I was just legitimately confused. And I don't like to be confused during a story. I just don't. I don't read to be confused. Unless the confusion is let me see how this is going to turn out, kind of thing where it gets you interested, where you can't figure it out and it actually is interesting and not frustrating, that's fine. But if I feel frustrated reading a book or reading a comic, I'm not gonna follow it. I'm not gonna follow it. So there's all that. But to get back to the point of Tony Isabella's Facebook statement, he says that Batman is toxic, but he doesn't explain why. Here's the thing. We live, sadly, in a society, yes, we live in a society, as much as I hate to say it, that looks at a character like Batman, rich, white, male, powerful, and sees this as now problematic and sees this as inherently evil. Now, is Bruce perfect? No. No, Bruce is not perfect at all. The man is demanding, he's controlling, he's manipulative. He can certainly express negative and toxic qualities. That's true. That's true of anybody. And yes, all those traits have been part of his character for a very long time. Now, of course, given the fact that his character has been in existence for 80 years, right, his characterization changes over time, right? Because people change, and society changes, and times change, and the world changes. And what type of Batman people want to read about changes, right? For example, in the 60s, he became a much more, I guess you would say, goofy or kitschy type of character because you had the TV show and they wanted a lighter hearted Batman, right? 15, 20 years later, it's the 80s and you have stories like Killing Joke and Batman Year One and all that stuff, and they want a darker, grittier Batman. Then you get the 90s where he's still got some of the grit, but he's also a bit cartoonish and it's 90s edge and all this other stuff, and he's getting his back broken by Bane and all that stuff, right? And then in the 2000s, and in the 2000s, you're getting different types of Batman, and so yeah, his characterization has changed over time, and there are times when he is characterized as being very heroic, right? Take, for example, in the cartoons, and there are times when he's a bit more of a anti-hero, I would say, which I think is his personality more in the comics. At least that's in my opinion. But here's the thing. I don't believe that Bruce Wayne as a character and Batman as a character is toxic. He's supposed to be a power fantasy. He's the vigilante fantasy. He's the part of us that wishes that we could take on evil and take on crime ourselves. That's why he endures, right? He touches a part of us that wishes we could do something about the evil that we see in the world, and we can't. So we live vicariously through him, through a character who, if he wanted to, could hide behind his money because he comes from privilege, not because he's white, but because he was born into a rich family and still runs a business, and that business makes billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. He could use his money to hide in a literal ivory tower and throw money at the problem, but never actually do something about it. But that's not the type of character Bruce Wayne is. He is a proactive character. He is somebody who must go out and who must go and confront what he's trying to combat, right? He's a man of action. And to me, there's a very beautiful but tragic quality about Bruce Wayne in that the battle that he's taken on, which isn't just to apprehend criminals because the GCPD is inept and corrupt, but what he's really trying to do is fight crime. He's trying to fight the criminal element, and that is a fight that nobody can win. Nobody, no organization can truly eliminate crime because you cannot eliminate the human condition. You cannot eliminate the darkness in the human condition. It's impossible. Batman could live forever. Bruce Wayne as Batman could live forever, and he still would not be able to eliminate every single solitary criminal. That is what is beautiful and yet tragic about it, because that's his goal. He wants to see people safe. He wants to see a safe Gotham. He wants to see a Gotham where someone like him would not have to exist. And remember, for people of Gotham who are living in this, very rundown version of New York City, right, who have no faith in their police force, who have no hope, Batman is a symbol of hope. He's not a symbol of crime. He's not a symbol of oppression. He's a symbol of hope for the people. As someone is out there trying to protect them, because the force that's supposed to protect them, the Gotham, the GCPD, can't do a damn thing. Even Gordon himself really cannot do much. And that's why Batman goes out and he does what others cannot do. Right? Now this is not to justify him breaking the law, because technically he's a vigilante and that's illegal. But still, at least he is actually trying to be of benefit to others. He's trying to prevent another him. He's trying to prevent another young kid watching their parents be shot to death in an alley at only 8 years old. Now, could he ever truly prevent that from never happening to anybody again? No, but damn it, he's trying. And that's a lot more than you can say for most people in Gotham, and that's more than you can say for most people in the comics realm today. At least Bruce is trying to be a positive in a sea of negative. Now again, does this mean that he's a perfect person? No. He has a lot of emotional issues. He has control issues. And if you've ever seen Batman Beyond, we all know that he's going to end up alone, isolated, and pretty much push everybody that he ever cared about away. That's the sacrifice. We know how it ends. That's the sacrifice he makes. He sacrifices any personal happiness because the safety of the city and the safety of her citizens means that much to him. In fact, that was one of the things that irked me so much when I learned about the Bat-Cat romance and how they're like having, and I'm not even joking, they're having sex on a rooftop during his patrol. I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Why would he prioritize having sex with Catwoman on a rooftop over hunting down criminals? And I want to be clear, it's not the idea that they're having sex or the public sex in this case. It's the fact that he's doing it on his work time. That would be the equivalent of a police officer going to his girlfriend's house on duty and boinking her. That would not be acceptable. That would not be appropriate. And yet, when the same thing pretty much happens in a Batman comic, nobody says anything about it. Nobody points out how grossly inappropriate and out of character that is for a character like Bruce Wayne, who is very, stoic and reserved and disciplined, and who is supposed to be trying to resist Catwoman's seductive and alluring charms. And I get it. Bruce has a thing for bad girls. I get all that. That annoys me personally, but I understand it. But that was still bad characterization, in my opinion. But anyhow, this is going on too long now. It's almost 20 minutes and I've rambled. But long story short, I don't think that the character of Batman is toxic. At least not when he's written properly. I think he is a beautiful, if tragic, example of somebody who has truly given up everything that he cares about for the greater good, to be of value to his city. He has really given up his life. Any semblance of a normal life, any semblance of happiness. He has sacrificed all that to fight an impossible battle, to fight an impossible enemy, which is the criminal element itself, the darkness inside people that drives them to do bad and very violent things and hurt others. And yet he has made it his mission for as long as he's alive to protect people. Now, am I gonna argue that perhaps as a character he overshadows other characters. Of course he overshadows other characters. He's Batman. He's an iconic character. Okay, he's an iconic figure well beyond comics. Yes, he's going to overshadow other characters at DC. Because very, very few characters get that stratified air of a Batman and a Superman and a Wonder Woman. But you don't hear Tony Isabella complaining about how Superman is always featured in everything and how Wonder Woman is always featured in everything. No, he's not. He isn't going to mention those. He can't criticize Wonder Woman because it would be socially unacceptable to do so. And I think it's actually kind of hard to attack Superman because the whole thing about Superman is that he tries to lead a more balanced, normal life despite being a superhero. But say Bruce is toxic? Yes, you can say Bruce is toxic and not have to actually prove your point because Bruce to modern day comics and to this cancel culture, this heavily critical culture that we live in, is toxic. He's big, he's strong, he's powerful, he's stoic, he's not overly emotional, he's rich, he's white, he's heterosexual. Yes, he's everything that they would find toxic. So yes, to them, he would be a toxic character. To me, I believe that he is a beautiful, flawed, tragic warrior / hero. That's the Bruce Wayne, that's the Batman that I know. And that's the one that I admired as a little kid, to the point that I had a Batman shirt that had the yellow emblem on the front, and I wore that shirt down to the threads. You could not take it from me. It literally fell apart. That's the only reason why I don't have it anymore, is because the damn thing literally was threadbare. And that is because I was a very big fan of Batman at the time. And I was a fan of his heroism. Plus that scene in the 1989 Batman film when he like kicks his way through a window and beats up all the Joker baddies in the museum is just a cool freaking scene. And the part with the Batmobile when he makes it stop right at his feet, right before it knocks him over. That was cool too. Keaton's always going to be best movie Batman for me. I can't help it, and I won't apologize. But anyway, that's my very rambly thoughts on Tony Isabella's comment about Batman being toxic. No, he's not toxic. He's just a hero. Beautiful, tragic, flawed, as a hero should be. And if you've got a problem with that, well, sorry about your luck. But anyway, that's the video for the day, and I will see you around in the next one. Have a nice Sunday, and wherever you are, whatever you're doing, be happy, be healthy, be safe. Bye.